Hello, hello, hello. Today, we are going to be going over sort of just general information about Grindspots, what's good, what's bad, what's worth your time. I've been kind of like people keep asking me to do a console updated Grindspot because people keep talking about Elvia on PC and we don't have Elvia, so it's like, where should I grind, where should I go? So I'm going to just kind of cover every spot, what's worth your time, what's not, and overall the money you're going to be making per hour. So we're going to start with the desert. Round Sulfur Mine was actually pretty good, and it still is really good, but I don't think this is the best spot in the game anymore, especially in Valencia. I think Pilaku outshines it by quite a bit, and I'll explain why in a minute, but this is still a very, very good spot. Not only is it about 30 caffers an hour, but you still make about 180 to 200 just in trash mills. So if all you really care about is just a comfortable, chill grind, I think Sulfur Mines now is sort of less of a hot zone and you can grind here in peace. It's not the best money, but it's still relatively good. Not to mention you only need about like 200 AP to grind here. I know it says like 210, but you could probably do it at 190 to be honest with you. Like if you're fresh out of seasonals or something and you still have seasonal gear, you can totally run this and be completely fine. Coming on down over here to Pilaku Jail, this spot has been popping because of the way scroll prices and memory fragment prices are. Since they've skyrocketed to damn near about max for whatever godforsaken reason, they are now so worth selling because people are just constantly buying this shit. And since everything's jacked up in price, this place has now become just money just off of scrolls. If you just sold the scrolls, you're still making a massive profit. However, if you run the scrolls, you're even making more profit. The difference is that if you run the scrolls at a later time, you can't really add that to money per hour because you're doing that at a separate time. So that doesn't translate very well. But to kind of show you guys what I mean, currently right now, I'm selling 835 memory fragments, and this is from running about 500 scrolls, which at that point that was about, well, when I say 500 scrolls, it's like 500 pieces, which translates to 100 like fully constructed scrolls. And if we take a look, if I were to sell them at max, I'm making 2.4 bill, and if I sell them down a little bit on the lower end, which people are going to keep undercutting right now, so this is why like this market is like super volatile, and you're kind of just going to have to let it just sit for where it's at. I'm going to put mine for 285 actually, because I just, things are going to sell. It'll sell throughout the day. People are going to buy it. It's super expensive right now. So people are going to min bid. The price is going to drop. It's going to, fluctuate quite often because that's just how people are with memory fragments. People just want to get that money as soon as possible. So depending on how you do this, it will either be good or bad for you. But definitely because of the way the prices are, the money here is insane. You can pull about 30 scrolls per hour, and that's a dummy thick amount of money just ready to be like ran at a later time, and then you just add that profit onto what you already made. So let's say you run Pilaku for 4 hours, right? And then you average about 20 scrolls per hour. So we do 20 times 4. You're looking at 80 scrolls. So you do 80 scrolls divided by 5. That's 16 scrolls. 16 scrolls is going to net you about close to 200 mil, or not 200 mil, about 200 memory fragments. So 200 memory fragments times, like, let's say you sell at like 2.7 mil. So that's going to run you about 540 extra million silver. So yeah, on top of the money that you're making here, which is going to be about 250 mil an hour, you're going to be adding another 500 onto that, per 4 hours. So you're making easy a bill a day at Pilaku Jail, and the grind spot's so brain dead. Moving on over to Fogans, this area has kind of fallen sort of out of relevancy. I don't think it's that good anymore. The agris efficiency is still great, but the reason it was good was through the process of elimination. That Sulfur Mine was the best spot in the game, and this place was a close second because it was really good with agris, and you could just sit here all day and make really good money. But since the agris changes, there are many other spots that are much better than this. The money's still okay. You can make about 200 mil to 230 mil an hour, but if you're looking to make like big money, this is not really the ticket. This is more like I want a nice, quiet, comfortable, out of the way grind where nobody's gonna bother me. That's what this place is, at least in my eyes. Coming on over to Crescents, not gonna lie to you, I don't really like Crescents. I don't really like the grind. I'm not a fan of the drop rate of the Crescent rings. It's not that good. It's really not that good. Even with Agris, I don't think it's worth it. Personally, I would steer clear of Crescents. It's not really that good of a spot. Coming on over to Waragons, this place has been changed to an XP spot. So currently, if you're trying to get XP, this is a very nice alternative to trees because you can just camp one spot, rotate servers, and easily farm XP. But in terms of money, there's not a lot to be made here. You're looking at maybe 140 mil to 200 mil an hour. That's assuming you're lucky with BMC drops. This is really not a money spot. It's sort of just an XP spot with minor money to compensate you for, you know, not totally wasting your time. Bashams is okay. I don't mind Bashams. It's just one of those areas that's really annoying to grind because you have to have a speed class because all the mobs are spread out through the whole area. So you're essentially just kind of, you know, you get to Bashams and then you're running this massive circle all over here, and it's just really obnoxious and not fun. So if you're a speed class and you don't mind it, this is again another one of those spots that's out of the way and it's good money. You can make, you know, 200 240 mil an hour here, but if you're like a super slow class, this is not going to be fun for you. Moving on over to Centaurs, this place is gas. It's like 600 650 mil an hour. Once again, if you're a speed class, you can really do some work here, like Musa, Maywa, Valkyrie, Suck Zerk. Any of these classes are going to excel really well here, but it's highly contested, so you're pretty much going to get ran over in some cases. And for new players, this is a very touchy zone for high level players. So it's like, oh, you know, I only need 200 AP to grind here. So let's say you come here out of fresh, you know, seasonals, and then you got a guy from a top, you know, 1% guild roll up on you with like double your gear score, and then you're dusted. So it's I wouldn't really recommend coming here unless you're on like an Olvia server or something, because there's just no chance that a top player is not here right now on console. Moving on up to Desert Naga Temple, I don't really care for this spot. It's okay. It's good if you're a beginner. It's out of the way. Nobody really comes here, and it's all right money. It's not bad, but there's definitely better. Once again, you're making like 200 250 mil. A lot of these spots are kind of, you know, rounded up into the same, you know, category of 200 mil an hour, and there's only specific ones that are going to be above and beyond depending on the Agris changes and how often you can play a speed class to where you're speed running the whole area. But Desert Nagas, doesn't really matter what class you are. All the mobs are pretty closely knit together. It's just I don't know, it's just not that good in comparison to everything else. Cadres, again, pretty good. It's not again the best spot in the game, but it's quiet, it's out of the way. There's like 2-3 rotations that you can run, so there's at least room for players not to overlap so much. But the problem with cadres is again the time for effort. So if you're using like a yellow loot scroll, this is not the best place for that, so I would recommend going elsewhere. Once again, if it's a quiet grind spot you're looking for, cadres is not bad, but there's a lot better. Basilisk Den, stay the hell away from this. Stay away from this. They have still yet to buff this place. They really didn't do much with it. It's dog shit. There's no money here. It is really bad. It's awful. It just steer clear of it. Going on up over here to Gahas, this place is pretty good. It's again, I feel like I'm just gonna keep repeating this same fucking statement. It's not the best, but it's out of the way, quiet, and if you're a speed class, you do really well here. Now there's 2 other spots in the desert, Aquaman, Histria. Both these spots received some really positive changes with the Agris buff. So both these spots are now relevant, especially Histria. You can make anywhere between 500 to 600 mil with Agris. So that's a very positive change. But the problem is, again, you got to be around 261 to 269 Kudum in order to grind there somewhat effectively. Not only that, but it's a hot zone for high level players because there's certain players that are always going to be in there trying to grind for the compass. And if we take a look at who owns the castle, Nameless, that's like a top 1% guild, so you can bet your ass that they're going to be in Histria 9 times out of 10. So if you're a new player and you're not looking to have any kind of confrontation, you're probably going to run into somebody down there from either this guild or one of the other guilds that rotate this castle. Same thing for Aquaman, except Aquaman is a lot less money. You're not making anywhere near 500 mil. It's more like 300, 350 with Agris, but again, it's got a compass, so some players might be in there, but it's really not that great. So I wouldn't really worry too much about Aquaman, but if you're looking for an Agris burn, aquaman's fine if you really want to. Now the area of Madaya is pretty much all trash. I'm just gonna say that right now. This entire area is pretty much terrible. The only place that's worth a damn is Kratuga, which is going to be Hashra Ancient Ruins, which here you can make about 500-600 mil an hour with Agris. So this is actually pretty fucking good. The one thing I will say is that Elcars are down in price immensely. So that price got gutted to a serious low amount on PC. I'd say those numbers are accurate, but since we don't have crystal breaking, this is really bad. Like this is, I mean, really bad in the sense of like you're getting money cut down because the prices of Elcars are not what they should be. So you're making only 100 mil per Elcar, just about. So yeah, it's not the best, but you're still making like 350 to 400, 450 mil. And especially if you pull a lot of Elcars, you can still bump that up to about 600. Now, since we don't have Elvia, none of this shit matters. Nothing in Serendia matters. Like, so don't even worry about this. Same thing for Calpheon. We don't have that one update either, so nothing matters in Calpheon whatsoever. So there's just nothing here. I will say there is one grind spot that I should talk about, which is Abandoned Monastery. Kind of need a lot of gear to grind here. It can be pretty toxic in the sense of like the mobs are just CCing you left and right. So one, you're going to need some decent DP, at least 333 plus, or a full SA class, which like, you know, Striker or really any class that has constant SAs that'll block any kind of CCs. But the mobs here are relatively tanky, so having 280 plus Kudum is going to be a must, or else you're going to be clearing at the speed of fucking mayonnaise, and that's not fun. So I've grinded here at low AP, I've grinded here at high AP, and I can assure you, the high AP, who would have guessed that was the more effective? So there are just like, the reason I mentioned that is that there are some spots that are like, oh, you know, you need X amount of AP to grind here, but in reality, you only need like way less than that, and it's still efficient. Here, that is not the case. You really need about 281 Kudum just to make a dent in these mobs, especially at a fast rate. But I do have to stress that Abandoned Monastery is not about the trash loot, it's about the drops here. So if you get Dawn Earrings, this is where the big money is, because if you just count the trash loot, even at mock speed, you're going to get like maybe 9k trash an hour, which is going to barely translate to like not even 200 mil. So the trash loot is just kind of like an added bonus, so you just don't get fucked over. But Dawn's earrings are going to be the way that you make any kind of money here. So without a drop, you kind of are wasting time. Which brings me to my next point, Star's End. It's basically the solo spot to Abandoned Monastery, whereas you're only going to make like not even 200 mil an hour unless you get a disto earring and you factor in, you know, Caphras and BMCs and whatnot. If you're selling everything, you can push a little over 200 mil, but if you are just banking on trash loot, once again, you're going to be making sub 200 mil. However, you get a disto, you push that shit to about 450. So if you're a lucky carried bitch, then you make money here. If not, then this place sucks dick. Ash Forest, most of you can't even grind here. I can barely grind here, so I'm gonna tell you right now, just don't even look at this fucking spot. You're just gonna die. Foddes is pretty good. It's about 250, 300 mil an hour. Not bad. I've done a video on it. I've even updated the trash loot. It's actually very, very good. It's out of the way. Caphras aren't bad, and the skill XP is really good. So this spot, not horrible. Ronaros is okay. I don't think it's that good. I would honestly grind Foddes over this. Like the spot's okay. The trash loot's worth like 13,000, so it's not the best. It is worth more technically than Foddes, but the problem is like the mob density and how you have to keep going from, you know, place to place. So you can still pull decent money here, but I'd much rather go elsewhere. Plus, since it's a pot piece area, it's going to be heavily contested at all given times, so it's not really worth it here to come for money when you could go to another spot with less of a headache. Ollie's Forest, incredibly good, very, very good. If you're a speed class and you can get a nice rotation for a couple hours, you can make some serious money here. It's just about as good as Foddes, or actually might even be better than Foddes now that I'm thinking about it. It's like 300, 350 an hour. Which is very, very good. Plus the XP is not bad. Skill XP is pretty good. So yeah, Poly's incredible. Honestly, super good grind spot for what the AP requirements are. It's actually very solid. Now we get to Guyfinns. Guyfinns is a 5-man grind spot. This is really for mainly top tier players, but I have definitely seen 261 AP motherfuckers sneak into groups and just, you know, pretend like they're high gear score, and then they'll just, you know, say, oh, I'm 290 Kudum whatever, and then they're like sub 261, but because the rest of the group is really high gear score, they kind of blend in because nobody can really tell and verify who's what. But if you see them hit mobs by themselves and you see them doing negative damage, you can tell who's fake and who's not. Either which way though, Guyfinns is very good. I don't recommend coming here with sub 270 AP, that's for sure. You're wasting your time because the trash here is probably about 550 mil, factoring in almost everything. But if we're just talking about trash with Agris, this is easily 450 mil, 500 mil. Everything else added in with like tongue belts as well as Kafras and whatnot, easy 700 mil, easy 700. Navarran Steppe, steer clear of this spot, it's terrible. Manshams not bad, but it's a Kafra spot now, so if you want Kafras, it's like, you know, 50 60 Kafras an hour, it's pretty good. Other than that, the money's still ass, the grind spot is still ass. It's also a pot piece area, so people are still gonna come here. Ass, still don't like it, still not a fan. Trees, incredible money, easy 300 350 mil an hour just walking from a grind spot. You know, if you're playing Zerker or Striker, you know, you spin on the tree, you do backflip leg smash on a tree. Like, it's so simple. It's such an easy brain dead grind that you just go from tree to tree and you just dumpster the mobs with like 2 abilities and rinse repeat for an hour. This is easily one of the most brain dead grinds in the game. Moving on down to Turos, this place sucks dick. You only come here when you're looking to make Fallen God. That's really it. It's not worth it. This place is horrible. Thornwood got changed to a Kafra spot. It's good for that, but again, it's one of those things that the trash loot, what you do get here is not that good. So you're gonna have to look at it from the perspective of, I am just here for Kafras, and that's what I'm going with. So money, not that great. Unless you're selling Kafras, which at that point, if you're doing that, you might as well go to another spot where the money is good and the Kafras is decent. So like, there's no reason to just go here directly except for just Kafras. Crypt of the Resting Thoughts, yeah, you can just pretend that this doesn't exist. It's not for you. Again, Olins, just pretends that this shit doesn't exist. It's not for you at all. Moving on up to Shirkan, this place is actually very good. The night cycle is what I would suggest that you can do. I did it on my Striker. I did actually have a recording of it, but I kind of got griefed on Arsha, which at that point I'm kind of griefing myself. But either which way, with like in between fighting between the statues, you could make easily 7k to 9k trash an hour, which translates to like almost 700 mil. This place is actually gas. The day cycle, however, not so much. It's still decent, but you're making far less money. So the night cycle, if you happen to be in the area and you have a, you know, rotation to yourself, definitely the night cycle is the way to go. You also have to be able to clear the statue effectively. So if you are one of the lower AP players, this may not be the best spot for you. Moving on over to Blood Wolves, this is okay. It's been buffed, so it's not totally worthless. But the problem is that one, you have different forms of trash loot here, so everything is so fucking annoying because like when you stack trash loot onto your horse, you're essentially, you know, only able to put one form of trash on the horse, especially once it gets overweight. So you have all these other extra trash loot items and you're just like, fuck man, I'm just overweight consistently. I really hate it. It's not a fun grind. So even though you can make some money here, it's nowhere near as, you know, good as something like trees or whatever. Plus, it's about as much money as foddes, which is like 265 mil, 300 mil an hour if you're lucky. Plus, it's a pot piece grind, so it's going to be contested heavily quite often. Jashira Ruins kind of sucks. I don't like it. It's not fun. It's not good. There's better spots. Plus, it's a pot piece grind. Definitely not worth the headache. It's really not. And last but not least, I forgot about Prati. I almost forgot about this. Well, there's a couple ocean spots that I guess I'll talk about, but Prati Cave got buffed. It's actually pretty decent, especially if you are a red shard gamer and you're constantly picking up red shards, then you're making, you know, easily 200, 250 mil an hour. Not bad. Moving on over to Sakraya. This place is very, very good. You can make up to like 400, 450 mil, especially now with the drop buff. You know, you're getting red shards, you're getting tongue ring drops, the Kafras, the ancient dust. Everything here results in a lot of money. The only thing is that when you go on those dry hours with no red shards or tongue rings, this place can be very, very fucking depressing. Also, if you're in a top tier guild or looking to get in a top tier guild, expect to be griefed here at all hours because that's just what people do. So you're most likely never going to have a peaceful grind here. Moving on over to the last and very last area, which is going to be Paddocks Island. Terrible, absolutely horrible grind spot. You make negative money here. It is horrible. It is one of the worst grind spots in the game. I wouldn't touch this place with a 10-foot pole. And I think that's everything as far as just that I can think of off the top of my head. I might have missed one or two grind spots. I can't really think of any off the top of my head, but I covered majority of it. Essentially, the general consensus right now with the state of the game, almost every single spot from Valencia all the way to Camasilva to Dragon is about 250 to about 350 mil an hour, with a couple outlier spots that go upwards of, you know, like 450 to 600, like Guyfinns, for example. Trees with Agris burn can be easy 450 mil or even 500 mil. You have places like Star's End where you can be 450 with distortion earrings, Sakria, things like that. But at the current state of console, almost every grind spot is anywhere between 250 mil to about 600 mil an hour, with the right resources. Some areas require Agris, some areas just require RNG. So that's going to be up to you whether or not that's going to be worth your time. If you're looking for an RNG spot, Star's End, Sakria, Kratuga, I'm trying to think, Pilaku, these areas are pretty much totally reliant on you getting a drop to make money. Whereas, let's say things like trees, Guyfinns, polys, foddes, don't require any drop to make real money. So that's just, you know, one thing to take into consideration. As for AP for all areas, aside from Sakria, Abandoned Monastery, and Turos, you really don't need high gear score. Almost every, oh, I guess I should mention Guyfinns too, but you don't really need high gear score for these areas because everything here is just so easy. Turos is like, you know, you need to be at least like 630, 640. Same thing for Guyfinns, same thing for Sakria, about like the average of 630 to 640, and also depending on your class and how well you play the class will determine how much money you pull per hour down there. So, but the general consensus is that if you're about 620 to 640, you can grind just about anywhere in this game at the current state of console. If you're a little below 640 to 620, like let's say you're fresh 600, stick to Valencia, stick to low-end Camasilva, and you'll still make bank. Don't try and push for high grind spots like Guyfinns, Turos, Sakria, Star's End. Just stick to trees. Like realistically, my best advice is go to trees, go to polys, go to Pilaku, go Sulfur Mine. Any of those spots, you're totally good to make a lot of money. That's like the main thing, is those spots are perfect for just entry-level money making. Everything else is kind of just, it's RNG and you need a little bit of gear score to make it work. So with that being said, if you have any questions, put them down below. I'll do my best to answer them, but that's going to be for today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.